Okay, so let's unpack this headline. It's kind of blown up online, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has. A big one.
Megan Thee Stallion facing serious getback from politicians looking to bail out Tory Lanez. I mean, what is actually going on here?
Well, it's definitely dramatic. So for you listening, just to set the scene again, this all stems from Tory Lanez being convicted for shooting Megan Thee Stallion.
Right.
And that trial, the whole thing, and, it sparked so much public debate.
Huge amount.
And get back, it basically means payback, right? Retaliation. So the headline's suggesting Megan might face, negative consequences because this politician is now involved.
Yeah, it felt like maybe, just maybe, that whole saga was winding down, and then bam, this drops.
Exactly.
A sitting U.S. Congresswoman, Representative Luna, she's publicly stated she has compelling evidence. Her words.
Yeah, compelling evidence.
Evidence she claims proves Tory Lanez is innocent. And here's the kicker. She said this stuff would be released within 36 hours of that YouTube video we're looking at.
Which puts it around, May 22nd, 23rd? Somewhere in there, 2025.
And right now, basically.
And what's really striking is how definitive she sounds. It's not just, oh, I have some doubts.
Oh.
She's flat out saying, I have evidence of innocence. And she even implied it could really hurt Megan Thee Stallion, saying Megan might be cooked by it.
Cooked? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty unusual, right, for a sitting member of Congress to jump into a finished criminal case this forcefully.
Absolutely. And Megan, well, she's obviously seen this. And she is not staying quiet.
No, definitely not.
She's been all over social media. TikTok comment sounds really frustrated. Just disbelief, I guess, at the support Tory Lanez is still getting. And now these new claims.
You can really feel the emotional toll it's taking on her from those posts.
Yeah.
She talks about the pain of having to relive it all, the constant accusations that she's lying. And she also brings up how the story from Lanez's side keeps changing, First, it was no shooting happened at all.
Right, I remember that.
Then it was, okay, a shooting happened, but he wasn't the one who did it. So those shifting narratives are kind of the backdrop here as we look at what Representative Luna is actually claiming.
Exactly. So, okay, for this deep dive, that's what we're going to do. We'll look at Representative Luna's claims, put them side by side with Megan's reactions, using this YouTube transcript as our main source here.
Yep.
The goal, like always, is try to cut through the noise, figure out the main arguments in this really unexpected twist.
Okay, let's start with Representative Luna's points. Like we said, she announced this evidence drop within 36 hours.
Yep, the timeline.
And that comment about Megan being potentially cooked, it really suggests Luna believes this evidence is a game changer, something that could seriously damage Megan's credibility in the whole case narrative.
And it wasn't just the announcement. She also tweeted, right, outlining concerns about the sentence Tory Lanez got.
That's right, the 10-year sentence. Luna highlighted it was his first offense and pointed to that firearm enhancement law.
The one that added time.
Exactly, and she specifically mentioned it's being looked at for racial bias, even citing a statistic.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
That Black defendants are affected by laws like that at a 92% higher rate.
92%. Wow. That's a huge disparity.
It is, and bringing that up immediately raises questions about fairness, about equity in the justice system itself. It feels like Luna is maybe arguing the sentence is unjust, separate from the verdict even.
Like broader systemic issues might be involved.
To be part of her argument, yeah, suggesting that.
Okay, but she also went after the evidence from the trial itself, the forensics.
Right. She mentioned the DNA. Very low probability, 0.01% chance of Tory's DNA being on the actual firearm.
0.01. Practically nothing.
And 0% on the magazine. Plus, she said DNA from 4 different people was found on the gun.
4 people.
4 individuals, yeah. And Tory Lanez wasn't the main contributor, and here's a big one. She alleges a key gunshot residue test, the GSR test, allegedly never performed on the other people who were there.
Wait, really? They didn't test the others for gunshot residue.
That's Luna's claim. Now, if that's accurate, that could definitely poke holes in the prosecution's case about who handled the gun.
You'd think.
Multiple DNA profiles. Lanez not being the main one. Maybe no GSR tests on others. Those are points you'd expect to hear if you're arguing the forensic evidence was flawed.
Sure.
Of course, DNA can transfer in weird ways, and not being the primary contributor doesn't automatically mean someone wasn't involved. Context is key.
Right. How it was handled. But okay, she didn't stop there. She talks about new footage.
Yeah, new surface body cam footage and new medical records. supposedly.
What do they show?
According to Luna, they show Meghan initially saying she stepped on glass, not that she was shot.
Okay, that's a direct contradiction to what Meghan testified to and what's been reported.
Exactly. She also claims the ER records didn't show bullet fragments on the x-rays.
No fragments.
None on the x-rays, according to Luna, and that any fragments that were supposedly removed are now missing.
Missing. Oh, come on.
That's the assertion, implying maybe it was glass, not bullet fragments, that caused the injuries.
So if this new footage, these records, if they actually show Meghan saying glass at first, that would be, well, pretty significant.
That would be huge. And missing evidence, that raises serious questions about how things were handled.
Yeah.
But, initial accounts after trauma can be confusing. People remember things differently. Statements get scrutinized later. It's complicated.
True. Okay, but then Luna kind of goes for the jugular. She points fingers.
She does. She suggests Meghan's ex-best friend, Kelsey Harris, might be the one who actually fired the gun.
Whoa. Okay, so she's naming Kelsey.
Suggesting it, yeah. And she also goes after the prosecutor, George Gascon, accuses him of railroading Tory Lanez.
Railroading him. Strong words.
Very. She claims prosecutorial misconduct, says they excluded mitigating stuff like his rap lyrics or tattoos.
How are lyrics mitigating? That seems odd.
Well, that's her claim. Also points to witness contradictions and these immunity deals, suggesting the motives behind them weren't clear, particularly Kelsey's, maybe.
Kelsey again. Did Kelsey get immunity?
That's often been part of the discussion, yes. Luna seems to be implying it played a role, and she mentions a security guard statement.
What about it?
Allegedly, this guard claims Kelsey admitted to firing the gun.
Kelsey admitted it to a security guard. If that's true, that's explosive.
Hugely explosive. If it can be backed up, these are all very serious claims against Kelsey, against the prosecution, really adds layers of complexity.
No kidding. And Luna seems to be using this to make a broader point too, right? About believe all women.
Yeah, she basically said that's out the door now. Now it's believe all the evidence and due process. Which taps into that whole societal debate, doesn't it? About the #MeToo era slogan versus the legal standard of due process. Luna's clearly positioning herself on the side of needing absolute proof, suggesting maybe the initial assumption that Meghan was telling the truth overshadowed a full look at all the evidence.
Okay, so that's Luna's side. Heavy stuff. Now, let's pivot to Meghan. Her social media paints a very different picture.
Completely different. You really see someone who sounds exhausted, just drained by having to constantly revisit this trauma.
And the harassment she mentions from Lanez's fans online.
Yeah, that too. Her words are really direct, aren't they? At what point are y'all going to stop making me have to relive being shot by Tory?
And Tory, you shot me. Ain't no new evidence. Pretty clear where she stands.
Zero ambiguity there. She seems absolutely convinced he's guilty and frustrated that it's even still a question for some people.
And she brings up those changing stories again, how it went from no shooting to, okay, shooting, but not me.
She sounds deeply frustrated by what she clearly sees as an ongoing attempt to just rewrite what happened that night.
You can hear it in her questions like, why in the F would me, the stallion, have to lie on this about someone shooting me?
Right. And her statement, facts are facts. He did it. It was proven in court. For her, the verdict is the end of the story. That's the proof.
She also made a point about Tory Lanez choosing not to testify, didn't she?
She did. Not getting on the stand himself to deny shooting her. She seems to view that as, like, a silent admission.
Interesting take. And these new claims from Luna, Meghan just dismisses them.
Yeah, basically says it's the same thing for years, just wants him to leave her alone.
Her constant references back to the guilty verdict, proven in court.
Yeah.
It really shows she believes in the legal system's outcome here.
Absolutely. And you get the sense she feels like challenging the verdict over and over is just another way of, continuing the harm.
Okay, so let's bring in the YouTube commentary now. The source video itself, the host there definitely amps up the drama.
Oh, for sure. Frames it like Meghan could be facing this major downfall because of Luna's new evidence. Very sensational.
And they really lean into that body cam footage claim, the idea that Meghan said glass first.
Yeah, that aligns perfectly with Luna's point and becomes kind of the cornerstone of the counter-narrative in that video.
And the host floats a theory that Kelsey shot Meghan by accident.
During a drunken argument, supposedly, and that Meghan lied to cover for Kelsey.
Wow. Okay, that's a huge leap. Important to stress, that's the YouTube host's theory, right? Not presented as fact.
Absolutely crucial distinction. It's speculation presented in the commentary. It tries to offer a motive for why Meghan might allegedly lie, but it doesn't seem based on any separate, verified evidence presented in the commentary, just the host connecting dots they see. You have to ask, why push that specific theory?
Good question. The host also talks about that jail phone call Tory Lanez calling Meghan.
Right. The interpretation there is that he was apologizing for cheating, not for shooting her.
They quote him saying he was just so drunk, didn't know what was happening.
Exactly. And the host emphasizes that nowhere in the call does he mention a gun or shooting anyone.
So the argument is the apology wasn't about the shooting at all.
That's the interpretation pushed in the video. Now, the call is ambiguous. It doesn't explicitly mention shooting, that's true. But does the lack of mention prove it wasn't related to the whole incident? That's the leap the commentary makes, focusing on what wasn't said.
Right. And then the host makes this really blunt accusation against Meghan.
Yeah, what was it? That she sat by and made sure that the guilty lady went free and a man took the fall.
Oof. That directly feeds into the Kelsey did it theory.
Directly. Accusing Meghan of knowingly letting an innocent man, Lanez, go down while the supposedly guilty person, Kelsey, walked free. It's a core part of that alternative story. Extremely contentious.
The commentary also mentions the online backlash against Meghan.
Yeah.
And this idea that public opinion might be turning.
It does. And it also brings up the restraining order Meghan got against Tory Lanez.
Even though he's in prison for 10 years.
Right. A 5-year order. The commentary points this out, highlighting Meghan's stated fear of him and the harassment she gets from fans, which seems to underscore the ongoing impact on her.
Yeah, the fact she still felt she needed that order while he's locked up says a lot.
It really does.
And finally, the YouTube host mentions Kelsey Harris again, allegedly lying during the investigation and trial.
Suggesting her motives were unclear, maybe because of that potential immunity deal we talked about.
Right.
And the host wraps up by saying this whole case has just split people right down the middle. Lots of division, with many people apparently believing Meghan might have lied.
Which seems undeniable, looking at the online discourse.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. The questions around Kelsey's testimony, any deals she might have had, those are critical pieces fueling these alternative theories. Inconsistencies or perceived lies on her part would absolutely give ammunition to those questioning the official verdict. The host's point about the division is spot on. It reflects this intense public fascination and the really polarized takes out there.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. The bottom line is we've got a sitting U.S. Congresswoman claiming she has bombshell evidence.
Evidence, she says, will clear Tory Lanez.
Which flies directly in the face of the court's guilty verdict.
And Megan Thee Stallion's own consistent, very public statements that he shot her.
It's a major clash. Legal verdict, victim's testimony versus these new political claims.
Precisely. It sets up this huge confrontation.
And it leaves you, the listener, with some massive questions, doesn't it? Like, what is this compelling evidence Luna supposedly has?
Yeah. Is it genuinely new? Does it actually contradict what was presented in court?
And the motive questions. Why would Meghan allegedly lie about something so traumatic?
Or conversely, what are Representative Luna's motivations for getting involved like this? And what about Kelsey Harris? What was her role, her motives? So many unanswered questions.
Definitely. And, regardless of where the truth actually lies here, this whole situation really highlights just how complicated legal cases can be.
Absolutely. And the power of public opinion, especially when it's fueled by social media narratives swirling around.
And the challenges victims of violence face, even after a verdict.
And Luna's involvement also makes you think about the role of politicians commenting on legal cases, plus those underlying questions she raised about potential bias in the justice system.
Yeah, those are important points too. So, as we wait to see if Representative Luna actually releases this alleged evidence, I want you to maybe just think about the power of narrative. How easily perceptions can shift, right? Even after a jury has decided. What does it really mean when public feeling seems to go so strongly against what happened in a courtroom?
That's a deep question. The tension between legal findings and public opinion. It's definitely something worth pondering as this unfolds.